Good to see you again, Mark.
Hello, Tim.
Here we are again.
Here we go again.
Right, so you've got some of these hot topics you want to talk about. Now,
Yeah.
I know that one of your hot topics is the Bible.
Yes.
The Bible. It's a massive subject, isn't it? I'm aware that it's probably still the bestseller, isn't it? It's the world bestseller of books.
I would imagine. I think sometimes there's a novel or something that comes out that tries to race ahead, but that just dies then in the background, and Bible's the thing.
So you've got this collection of books, 66 books called the Bible. Probably made the most impact on mankind.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and yet has probably caused the most controversy.
Yeah.
Okay,
She's challenging.
It is.
Yeah.
So what's Mark Lowe's take on the Bible then?
Well, to be clear, I love the Bible.
Yeah.
I was brought up to believe the Bible. I've been going to church all my life. My parents brought me up to believe the Bible. And I just want to be clear on that when I talk about certain aspects of the Bible, that I'm not coming from the basis of not loving it. I really love the Bible.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think that over the years, church culture has taken over. And as a result, it becomes our baseline for understanding the Bible. Some of that's helpful, some of it's not so helpful. But I do believe that we've lost sight of one of the necessary aspects of understanding and interpreting the Bible, and that is understanding the original intended meaning.
Okay.
And also grasping what the context of that meaning was.
Okay, I'll stop you there because there's lots of words in there which are going to throw some stuff up. One of the things that you have a saying, don't you, which I know that is a bit of a mantra, a word to use. It's a bit of a sort of ongoing phrase that I know you use, that people have a tendency to spiritualize their preferences.
They do. I think we all do.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Okay. Now, I've heard you explain to me, but just for the sake of the blog, could you explain what that means?
Sure. I think what we're most comfortable with we often give spiritual weight to. And I remember once me and you were doing worship in an event, and the way we were doing it wasn't that appreciated.
Sure.
Because we're old rockers, you're from Liverpool, the Beatles, and all of that kind of thing, and it wasn't deemed as real worship. And the reality is of what was going on there is that we were playing what we liked.
Yes.
And so that was our preference. But people who were criticising that were spiritualising their preference, which is what they wanted, something a lot more so-called Christian music. They don't understand the roots of anything really, but that it's so-called Christian music, and that was when I coined the phrase. Really, people are spiritualizing their preference here.
Now, when we talk about culture, if we bring culture into this, I know you had it. I know you've had it because you've done some traveling and stuff. And I remember a story you told about when you went to Brazil.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about that, because that wasn't related to music. That was your appearance, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, that was a very interesting one. I worked in Brazil over a number of years, and I ended up preaching to what was a regional conference of AOG leaders. I mean, a lot of leaders, a massive church full of leaders, because it's huge in Brazil. And just before the day or so before the meeting, the team leader there, he said to me, Mark, I think you need to shave your beard off. And I'm like, okay, why? And he said, because within that particular network of churches, it's a symbol of rebellion. And you probably, if you want to get your message across, you need to shave it off. I didn't have a problem with that. Jesus.
You shaved it off?
I did, yeah. My children were a bit upset. But, I mean, it's only costing me a few days' growth, isn't it, at the end of the day? And because the issue was I wanted to get the message across. And my beard was pulling away from that. And they'd have let me off because I was a foreigner, but it would have been, they'd been sitting there, he's got a beard and all that kind of thing. And obviously I have an earring now, but didn't then. And it just struck me at the time, Jesus gave up a lot to come to earth. so that he could communicate on our level. So we mustn't hang on to what we regard as our freedoms.
Yeah, I see.
If we hang on them too much, they actually become religious preferences again.
I see.
And so on.
So, if we link that back to what you were saying about the Bible, then can you bring the two things together?
Yeah. Well, basically, the Bible doesn't say anything about beards, does it?
No.
For instance,
No.
and as you once said to me, Jesus got a beard, hasn't he?
Probably had one.
Yeah. Who knows?
In the pictures.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, he was white. And the Bible does teach us, however, to give up our own preferences for the sake of communicating the gospel. So, can you see how the Bible helps us with that? Yeah. Yet, it's not necessarily right.
Okay. So, are you saying that we have a tendency as Christians to look at the Bible through our culture, our
Absolutely.
experiences and stuff?
Yeah.
And so, all right, given that we're interpreting it through these eyes, we need to take these glasses off. How somebody opening the Bible, because you get especially young people, Christians, they find it so difficult to read the Bible. How do you start to look at it? To look at it then.
Yeah.
When you read something like
Yeah. Well, you do have to understand the purpose of different parts of the Bible. And for instance, people often quote proverbs, don't they?
Yeah.
Not understanding what the role of a proverb is. And so I remember one person quoted to me that you are like a city with broken walls if you don't have self-discipline. Yeah. And the person quoting that was a very self-disciplined person. So obviously that made sense. But that doesn't help me, who's scatty, who from one day to the next has struggles with consistency. It doesn't. What if you're arty?
Yeah. Sure.
Waste of space, that kind of thing. Well, no, because that's all the creativity of God. And so to use a proverb in that way is overuse of the point of the proverb. And interestingly enough, that's Proverbs 25 that's in. And just before that, there's this interesting verse that it's better to live on the corner of your roof than put up with a nagging wife. Yeah? Or strife with your wife. It's not actually true. I mean, as a man, we get a sort of factor with that, don't we? Yeah. But in reality, it's not true. It's better to get counselling.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, bit of help with your marriage, isn't it? And live together in harmony. So how do you handle that? From what within the same chapter, you've got what's regarded as a definitive statement on life and on church life and on church preferences of how church should be done. Therefore, interpreted as nothing should be out of place. No one should do anything unusual or extrovert because we need to be disciplined. Yes. The Bible says so. Yeah. But if you use that method of translation with that, you have to, within the same chapter, use the same method with, someone once said that to me, and I don't see him living on the roof of his house every time he argues with his wife.
So what you're saying is that if you apply that principle in one area, you've got to apply it right across the board. You
have, and people pick and choose.
Yeah.
And it's largely a result of personal preference and 1,500 years of history of this is what it all means.
I see.
And this is how it works.
And we're back to people applying it, applying their own preferences, their own culture and stuff.
Yeah.
I see. Right. Well, there's a lot to think about there, and I'm sure we'll pick this up again.
We will. There's lots I could say, but I'm resisting the temptation just to go on.
Sure. So if we can draw the first thing from relating more to what you said is look at the background, look at the context, look, where's this come from, what type of book it is, because it's all poetry, history.
That's right, different genres and
letters and
revelation and narrative, etc. Yeah.
I think we'll come back to this one.
Great. That's lovely. Thanks, Tim.
Cheers.
Right.